It's such a blessing for me to be here. I have to tell you that I came here to do a workshop, but the first time I walked in the doors, I felt something. You name it unconditional love. You can name it many things, but I felt it. So I know you've set the intention to be a community that exudes unconditional love. And let me just give you the feedback, babies, you're doing it. It's sweet, it's strong, it's powerful. So thank you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for touching those tender places that you touch whenever you come together in this field of love. So today I'm going to tell you a love story. And let love, I hope that love will lead the way on this love story, shall we? And the title of this love story is The Love That Lives Within. And this love that lives within is very mysterious. We can call it unconditional love. We can call it many things, but it's mysterious and it's really unknowable. And yet we still try and figure it out. We still try and put our logical minds and unwrap it and figure, but that's a trap, but we'll get to that later. But there's something else about this mysterious love that lives within. It must express. It grows and expands. It must circulate. And the other thing is, it's an awakening. It wakes up the parts of us that may be asleep. So our story begins, let's make a setting. We're out in a field, this beautiful field with birds and flowers and things. And this field is way out there. It's out beyond ideas of right and wrong. This is, Rumi would call this, the field out beyond ideas of right and wrong. He says, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you in that place. Because that's the place where we're going to find this mystery, this unconditional love. And let's introduce a loving couple in here. Let's name them Adam and Eve. Or Alice and Eve. Or Adam and Edmund, whatever. We've got a happy couple out here in this field beyond right and wrong, and it's like, there's this garden in this field, and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and they recognize that they're separate. They're like yin and yang. They like flow together, and they have this loving, wonderful relationship, and everything is just sweet and fabulous. And this love that is between them is so big. It's like 10,000 suns living within them. And they can see it in each other, but it's hard to see in themselves. And by the way, I should say, this love story is what I'll call a soul story. We're going to talk about other people with other names, but it's really about your soul. And it's going to feel like it's somebody else out there, but it's about what's going on in your soul. It's about the love story that's going on with you, the parts of yourself that love yourself and the parts of yourself that are not so sure about yourself. All of this is part of this love story that's happening out in this field of unconditional love, this field of love that is within. What is it within? Is it within me? Is it within you? Is it within the entire universe? Yes, yes, yes. It's everywhere. It's within. But sometimes it's easier to see it out there. You know what I'm talking about? So let's play with this a little bit. So let's say there are polarities of love. Love is like a rainbow. Let's say love is like a rainbow. It's got this full spectrum. It can be green, it can be red, it can be blue, it can be yellow, it can be all these different colors. And we can each, in the love that lives within us, can carry each of those unique vibrations. And it's beautiful when we come together. It's like the musicians all coming together in this harmonious, coming together and create something greater than the whole by coming together with all this uniqueness. And we can name that uniqueness yin and yang. We can name it a different color. We can name it red and blue or green. But it's all there, and it's all part of that love that is within. So we'll continue with our story. Oh no, before we get to the story, I'll tell you this. We've just been talking about love. So love is a big word. It can mean lots of things, right? It can mean eros, the love between these two lovers. It can mean love between a family. It can be love for an idea or a symbol. It can be the love that between a child and a parent. All these kinds of love. But it's like the different spectrum. It's the different perspectives of that love. So we have this idea of love. So what I'd like you to do is just make it a little more real, all right? So I'd like you to bring to mind a newborn. This can be a newborn child, a human, a newborn puppy or a kitten, whatever. Just bring together some newborn. So you've got that in your mind. Okay, this is a good start. And now notice how that feels. So bring together notice the feeling of the newborn, what it feels to be like a newborn. Around, if you got that feeling, okay, now we've got the idea, we've got the emotions. Now I'd like to bring it into your body. So I'd like you to imagine that you're holding a newborn, this little newborn in your arms. Put your arms, come on. Put your arms, we're going to get the body to feel it in the body. Want that body sensation and say, yes, there is this newborn in my arms right now. And look at that newborn. And imagine you're looking in the eyes of that newborn, and what are you feeling and what are you seeing? Notice that feeling. That's that feeling of love, that love that is within you, and now it's flowing out as it must, because that's the nature of love. It must express, it must flow, and now it's flowing into that infant. And now I want that, imagine that infant is looking back, and the infant's eyes are looking back at you and expressing something. What is that infant expressing to you? This is the love within the infant flowing back to you. Okay, now you've put the baby to sleep nicely, then you put the baby in the bassinet if you want to, or you can pick it up, keep holding if you like, it's up to you. But hold, good baby. So that's the love I'm talking about. That's the palpable sense of that love that I'm talking about. And when you felt that baby, that love just naturally poured out, right? It could not be contained. And then when you looked at that baby, you actually felt that love coming back, because that's the nature of love. It must circulate. It must flow. So getting back to our story, we've got our happy couple in the garden. And things are going wonderful, and this love that we just talked about is flowing back between them. And it's like, did you hear about the neutron stars? Did you hear about this? I'm a science nerd, so I got really excited. 2 neutron stars crashed into each other, and it's really exciting. It turns out that 100 years ago, Einstein predicted that there are gravity waves, and if you can sense those gravity waves, you'll be able to sense that it's really happening. And no one was able to detect a gravity wave until just this year, because they made this machine that detects gravity waves, and the nerds are so excited. So a few months ago, 2 black holes crashed into each other, and the energy of that was hundreds of thousands of light years away, and that energy came back, and they could sense that energy permeating across the whole universe. But you couldn't see it because it was a black hole. Nobody could see a black hole. But the exciting part is this few months ago, 2 neutron stars, which are visible, which emit light, were circling around. The neutron stars are incredibly dense. They're like the density of 100,000 suns into one little tiny bit. And they're so dense, and they're circulating around each other, and and then they crashed into each other. Boom! Okay, this is like a terrible story. They exploded, they destroyed themselves. Just destruction. But here's what happens when neutron stars crash into each other. They create heavy metals like gold and silver. So this is like this alchemical experience going on in the universe hundreds of thousands of years ago, and it's rippling across, and we just felt the vibration of this creation of this alchemy, waves coming across the universe. And this is the kind of love I'm talking about that happens between the baby and you. This is the kind of love that I'm talking about between you and everyone in this community. This is the love that happens in this community, and I want you to know, I want you to really feel this. When you come together in the name of love, it's like neutron stars crashing into each other, creating this alchemy that changes everything. And it feels like you're being ripped apart and destroyed, but you're actually creating gold. Gold in the sense of this powerful love that's happening. And you, Genesis, are sending out ripples that are traveling across the universe, touching people's lives, opening hearts, magnetizing people like Elle and I to come into your community because there's something going on here. We want to know what it is. You got something really cool going on here. There's chemical reaction, there's creation, there's alchemy happening, and it's destroying things, which is really scary and sad. But it's also creating things. It's creating this powerful energy that's waking us up. And that's the other part of this mysterious energy, is it has an awakening energy. And that's what's really exciting for me as I look at not only what's happening here at Genesis, but what's happening out there in the world, in the news. But I'll get to that in a minute. Let me get back to our happy couple. Happy couple, okay. Things are going great. And then one day, somebody doesn't take out the trash. You heard this story, right? It's never about the trash, but that doesn't matter. Somebody doesn't take out the trash. It's suddenly a big deal. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. Man, we had this wonderful orbit going around, and everything was just fine, and we had this powerful energy, and we weren't crashing into each other, but suddenly something weird is happening. So they decided, well, let's go figure this out. So luckily, there's a tree of knowledge right on the edge of this field. So let's go check out this tree of knowledge, and then we'll know what's going on. So they eat this apple, and it gives them the knowledge of good and evil. Suddenly, what was yin and yang, what was the full spectrum of the rainbow, is suddenly good and bad. Suddenly it's right and wrong. Suddenly everything is crazy. Suddenly nothing makes sense. Suddenly that love within me that must express can't express. Suddenly the love is blocked. God, help me. Help us. We're stuck. We can't find the love anymore. We can't live in the garden because we have the knowledge of good and evil, and we've separated, and we've decided there's separation. By the way, the side here, this is the metaphysical math. In metaphysics, the math test, this will be on the test. Write this down. The answer to the metaphysical math test is always 1. It's never 2, it's never 3, it's never you and me, it's always 1. So in the knowledge of good and evil, suddenly there's 2, and there's something, you're going to get the wrong answer on the test, I'll just say that if you're in there. And who hasn't been there, right? So where was I? I'm so excited. So let's see, we got all about this. Now back to the garden. Oh yes, my goodness, the good and evil. Oh my goodness, we're separated, we can't live in the garden. What are we going to do? Is this the end of the story? They're kicked out of the garden? No. No, here's what the story turns out to be. Oh, so here's the metaphor. So here in this community, in this sacred time, this is the garden. This is the field. And it's not just a field with bunnies and flowers. It's an energetic field. It's an energetic field that we step into and get fed by and we're awakened by. And then the service is over, and we go out into the world. And there are things out there. There are stories. There are challenges. There are people not taking out the trash. You know what I'm talking about? Ooh. Amen. I'll do it next time, really. Oops. Busted. So the story is our lovers with this uncontainable love find themselves in a world situation where it's hard to love, where there's convincing evidence that there's right and wrong and good and evil. And even though we know that's not true, we're so convinced of it. What do we do? Here's my idea. You try it. We expand the field. Can we expand this field? Much like the collision of neutron stars, can we expand this field within this container, and can we expand this into our world? Can we find ourselves touched by the conviction that there is good and evil, and that they're right and I'm wrong? Oh no, they're wrong and I'm right. Something like that. I am so confused I don't even know myself. But this is the challenge. This is the challenge that I know you've given yourselves. To bring this love out into the world, out into those places where we're touched by the temptation to believe that there is separation, that something's good and something's bad. And the other thing that happens when we're in that good and evil thing is that we get into a part of our brain that operates on the level of fight and flight. And so if there's good and evil, I either need to fight with it or run away from it. This is one strategy. You can try it for a while. I know I've done my share of it. But there's another strategy. Rather than fight or flight, there's a strategy of standing in the light, standing in the field, bringing the field to myself when I feel off balance, bringing that field of beyond right and wrong, bringing the field of the Garden of Eden, bringing that field that you all have every time you step into these doors. And this field exists beyond time and space, so you can tap into it any time. So here's my challenge to you this week, to me. You can do it if you want to, but the challenge is, this week, I pick up the newspaper. I see clear evidence that there's people doing things different than I think they ought to be doing them. And there's a part of me that says, this will not stand. This will not stand. And I can go fight against it, or I can run away from it. But I like the perspective that Martin Luther King said. He said, basically, the answer is love. If I can stand in love, then I can stand for what I stand for. If I have to stand in the fighting, it's just going to feed the fighting. It's just going to create a polarity. If I can just run away, it's just going to feed the polarity. This is something that our lovers discovered, by the way. Let me tell you, one of the lovers in this story was very frugal, wanted to save a lot of money. The other one just loved to spend money. So they decided that they would correct this by polarizing. So the frugal one got even more frugal, and the spendy one spent even more money, and they created this huge dynamic. It was very exciting, but it didn't solve anything. It was just the fighting and flighting. But then one day they decided, oh, let's come to this. I'll meet you in the field. I'll meet you in the garden. Let's come to the center. I'm no longer going to try and make you the way I think you ought to be. I'm going to stand in the center in the light and the love. I'm going to witness the innocent that is within you. I'm going to witness the innocent within myself. And we'll come together as the innocents in the field beyond right and wrong. And we'll stand together in love. So my challenge again for myself is when I read the paper, when I see the news, and I see something that must not stand, I respond with love. I respond with love. Boy, this is going to come up. Okay, so here's the real challenge. Am I willing? Are we willing? Are you willing to take a stand for something that may not be fully manifest in your lifetime? So here's my human self saying, okay, Martin Luther King took a stand for something. He took a stand for love. But he was killed. He lost his life. His body went away. But my soul, in this soul story, my soul says, the divine idea of love remains. The divine idea of standing for love remains. The divine idea for love will remain in my soul, whether my body remains or not. But I must take a stand for what is right. I must take a stand for love. Oh boy. And if you are willing to take a stand for love with me, I invite you to stand. Tell your body, bring that information in your body. I will take a stand for love this week and for all time. Yes, even Cuddle's going to do this. Yes. Thank you very much. You may be seated. You are now ambassadors of the highest frequency of love. You will be challenged, but you're up to the task because you have a team. You have this energy. You have this field. You have this home field advantage, if you will. Oh. I meant to say this earlier, but let me just say, let me introduce Cuddles. Cuddles is part of my family that came, because when we go traveling, we like to have familiar people. So Cuddles is here with us today, and Cuddles is going to be part of our workshop today, as are Cuddles' little friends here. Yeah, he's had a long day. He got up early. Poor Cuddles didn't get his nap today, but he never complains. He's good that way. So I want to also say that just as cuddle stuffed animal friends are here, there are other invisible friends who are with us always. There are our ancestors who have taken a stand for love that remain with us in their souls and their bodies. Or not bodies, but in their souls. Their energy is with us in this field. And there are divine beings who are also with us taking a stand for love. And when we come together in the name of love, they come together also. And so as you go through your week, tempted by ideas of right and wrong, you can turn into this field. You can tune into the divine entities that support you, to your ancestors who stood for love, for King and Gandhi and even Jesus, who took a stand for love in the midst of violence and threats, and their divine ideas remain. And your divine ideas will remain, and they will continue to ripple out across the universe because of the love you choose to say yes to in the midst of temptation to see otherwise. Because there is only one. There is only one. There is only one. And so it is. Let's pray. Mother, Father, God, divine beings on all dimensions, eternal love that lives within, live within us now. Let your love pour forth and flow through us. Let the love that comes together like a bonfire in this community ripple out across the universe and bless the universe for all time. We've come together in the name of love. We have taken a stand for love. We are the embodiment of unconditional love, and it lives in us now. It lives in all things, and we know this. We watch this love unfold and reveal itself in all dimensions, in all places where there is misunderstanding, where there is a belief and an idea of right and wrong. We allow this and welcome this unconditional love to bring awakening to this shadow and reveal heaven on earth. The garden here now. The field of unconditional love within us, within all things, for all time. We welcome this with profound gratitude. We walk in love. We are love. This is the way it has always been and will always be, and so it is.